Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll show you how to make this cool little wine bottle topper using some Technique Junkie stamps from the new release. Here we go. Okay, so I've got my supplies. This is my prototype, and I'm not going to make the tag in this video exactly the same. I'm going to do it a little bit differently, but it'll be basically the same tag. I'm just going to use some different paper and some different techniques here. So what I have here is I have a pile of Catherine Pooler papers from last year. I think she has some new ones out this year, some new black and white designs. This is the design I had used for this one, but I want to use a houndstooth design for my new one, and the reason for that is Roll Tide. But besides Roll Tide, I like houndstooth. It's very classic. I'm just looking for my piece. There it is. So I'll be using that. I'll be using a piece of red cardstock. And I've got the Good Friends, and it's Good Wine Together, SD 1209 from Technique Junkies. I've got a piece of, this is shrink plastic. Now this is the one from Sizzix, and it's kind of frosty. On the original, I used a clear one that is from Simon Says Stamps. So use what you have, or if you don't have any, don't do it. It's fine. And then I'll be using StazOn ink for that. And I'm going to be using some white embossing powder. And I'm going to use the WOW Superfine embossing powder. Boy, I just noticed how dirty my stuff gets. So first of all, I'm going to just cut this piece out around here, and I'm going to stamp on the red paper. And on the red paper, I'll be using white embossing powder. So I'm going to lay that down into my stamp platform. Let me try and get this in frame so you can see it. I've moved my camera because for some reason it was really not getting the brightness that I needed. And so I apologize as I'm trying to get used to where my camera is pointing. I was just getting a lot of like dull, like yellowy tint somehow. So I changed up, my, I put my Tim Holtz glass mat down instead of my We Are Memory Keepers because I think that the black works better. We'll see. Anyway, I just used some anti-static powder on the red piece of paper, and then I'm going to use my Versamark to stamp down onto the paper. And I do stamp twice, so I'm going to go a first time and then go back in again, just to make sure that I've got the whole thing covered. And let me try and get this in view, mostly. And I'm going to go ahead and use my pressure tool to stamp that down because it's a pretty big stamp. And it didn't do bad, but I do need another coat because a lot of that just picks up the powder. So we'll go ahead and stamp it a second time. Give it some good pressure. There we go. I don't mind that there's a little bit of black debris on there from my stamp because it's going to be covered with the plastic of the WOW embossing powder. So I'll go ahead and just throw some embossing powder over this. Just give it a little tap off. Gentle tap off. Looks good. Happy with that. And let me put this back and let me go ahead and pour some all over my little mat. It's very hard to clean this stuff off, these mats. Like, it doesn't just wipe off. So I'm going to get my heat tool here, and I'm going to blow some of it off, and I'll clean up the mess later, but I don't want that big pile right there. And then I'll go ahead and just make sure this whole piece is embossed. Make sure all the plastic is melted on there. Doesn't take long, but you want to make sure you get it all. Otherwise, you'll knock it off in the next step. So I do like to kind of let that cool off a little bit. I'm going to grab a wet wipe and wipe that off now so it's just not distracting there in their screen. And I'll set this aside and let it kind of dry or cool off. And then I have stamped this down onto the starting over here because I didn't like the way that one came out. I'm going to cut a piece of this shrink plastic so that there's a little space at the top because I'm going to make it into a little miniature tag. I'm going to grab my cutting tool and I'm going to cut this to about 2 inches by 4 inches, just so that it's a little bit taller and pretty close to the same width of the stamp itself. So I'll just kind of lay the stamp on here so I can kind of get a feel for the width of it. It looks to be about 2 1/4. So I'm going to cut this to 2, and let's cut it to 2 1/2, because I do want it, you know, a little bit of space on the sides. And then I'll just kind of lay it here, and it looks like it's about, I'm going to do about 4 1/4, 4 3/4. Because I do want room at the top. Now let's go 5. Nope, let's go 4 1/4. Let's make up our mind and try and hold that steady there while I'm cutting. Originally I had fussy cut the sentiment out, but I really wasn't happy with the outcome, so I decided to make it into a tag shape. There's a difference with this frosty stuff. And I'm going to use the 10mm side of my corner rounder to round the top. And then I'm going to lay the stamp on here and make sure everything fits the way I need it to fit. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp this down. And I want to leave room at the top so I can make a hole. And I'm stamping on the shiny side. So I'm going to use my StazOn ink. And when you're doing this, you don't want to press down hard, or otherwise when the ink like hits the plastic and you lift it back up, it makes like a suction. So you just want to press lightly. It's better to go multiple times pressing lightly than it is to press down super hard on it and have it suck up and make those funny little holes. So I've got this stamped and I'm happy with that. I'm just going to move my stamping platform here. And then I'm going to heat it up. And I have a little tool that holds that thing down while you're heating it, but I can't find it typically. Here, this is me looking for it, but no, okay. We're just going to do it without it. And it is wet, so you don't want to touch the wet ink. I'm going to go ahead and punch my hole. I probably should have punched my hole first, but I wanted to make sure I got it in the good spot. And I'm just using a regular standard office hole puncher because I'm going to want to put string through there. So now I'm just grabbing my heat tool and I'm just going to put heat to it. And I do have this a little bit sped up for you. And at first it doesn't seem like it's going to do anything, and then it goes really crazy and starts to bend around. But as you continue to move your heat around, it'll flatten itself back out. And then this little tool here, which is like a little silicone tamper, you can use to tamp it down to make it flat. And then sometimes I'll flip it over because sometimes they won't go perfectly even back where they were because you didn't get the heat on there evenly, so I'll heat it from the back side. But I'm happy with that. It's cute. It's a good little keepsake. You know, they could throw the tag away and just keep that and put it on a keychain or something like that. You could color it if you wanted to. I'm not going to, but I will fussy cut this out. And I'll speed up my fussy cutting because, you know, but and I'm not doing any perfect cutting here. I am leaving a border around and just kind of moving the paper rather than, you know, trying to move my scissors too much. Although I'm not one of those people that can handle that excess paper that's right there, so I cut it off. Some people can go around the whole thing and let that paper just flop. I can't do it. Just, nope. Can't do it. So just cutting around it. I don't need it to be perfect. I just need it to, I need to be able to see my background. So I'm going to lay this on here and kind of get an idea of how wide I need it to be. And I don't want the tag itself to be much wider than the than the than the little stamped piece. So I got that too wide, so I'm just trimming it down until I'm happy. And maybe a little bit more. I think maybe another quarter, half inch. Yeah, that'll be good. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Loving it. Now I'm going to go ahead and round the top corners of this piece too. Well, I do want to trim it down a little bit. It's just a little bit long. I want them to kind of be almost, yeah. Now on my prototype, I made the little red, I don't know what you call those things that, like reinforcers, but I'm not going to do it on this tag. So if you wanted to, you could. So I'm rounding the corners again at 10 millimeters. And then kind of getting my placement here. And I will be popping that up. But before I pop it up, I do want to put the silver thread. I'll go ahead, and what happens is I forget to do the silver thread, but we'll go back and I'll show you how I fix that. So first I'm just using some foam tape so I can pop this up, and I'm just going to cut the other piece, kind of eyeball it, and get them real close so it doesn't hang over the edge at all. And you don't have to do the silver thread either if you don't want to. It's just kind of fun. I ran out of the silver ribbon that I used for the prototype. Boo! So that's why I chose that red and white twine. I thought it would be cute. So I'm going to lay this on here, and I will be sticking it down, and then remember that I forgot my silver thread. And again, it looks fine without it. It's just that added little something that really kind of zhuzhes it, kicks it up a notch. So I'll go ahead and use my hole punch and punch my hole here too. And see, this is where I realized I forgot my silver thread. So I'm going to carefully pull this off. And since it's covering, I don't mind that it's picking up the ink. What that tells me is that this is probably laser printed and I could probably foil it. Interesting thought. Maybe another day. So I got these journey dots for free the other day from Spellbinders when I got my kit of the month, I'm trying to get this little sticky boogery piece off of there. I like to put that piece on there to kind of hold the thread in place. When I got my foil glimmer kit of the month, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm just pulling off silver thread here, and this thread is very hard to see, and it's not that easy to work with. So just keep that in mind if you're going to be using your silver thread. And all I'm doing is just kind of bunching it up and fighting with it a little bit to try and get it to go into some resemblance of a nest, and then I'm just going to smack it down there onto that little sticky dot, and then fold some pieces over so that it kind of behaves the way I need it to behave. Those pieces are hard to grab too. All right, that's going to have to do. I'm perfectly fine with that. So I'll go ahead and stick my thing back down. Stick my little stamped Good Friends Wine Together. And then we'll just go ahead and attach everything together here. So I'm going to grab a pretty long piece of this red and white twine. Maybe 18 inches. That's my guess. I'm going to double it up, and I'm going to feed it through both the tag and the plastic tag. And I'm going to fight with it a little bit because, yeah, that's a small hole. So you can stiffen those up, just, lick your fingers or however you feel like doing that so that they stay kind of halfway stiff while you're pushing them through. And if you don't like that part, you could always cut it off afterwards. I don't care. So I'm just pulling this through, and then I'm going to untwist this because it twisted itself up pretty good. And then just bring the thread up through that loop and pull it not super tight, but kind of tight. And then I'm going to make a bow. and then adjust the bow to where I need it. And then I'm going to make a knot in the bow so that it stays secure. And then you've got these strings that hang over to tie around your bottle of wine. So there's our wine topper, and both of them. I hope you like them. I think it could be a fun gift, and then there'd be a keepsake left over that somebody could use. Let me zoom in here for you. Get a good look at it. You could do the back too if you wanted to. But if you like my video, please give me a thumbs up. And here's another picture of my prototype. You can save 10% using my code TJ10Color at TechniqueJunkies.com. Bye-bye.